Have you ever felt that, that incredible surge of energy when you start something new?
Oh, absolutely. Like a new project or maybe a fitness plan.
Exactly. Or even just the big dream you have, you get this burst, right? Anything feels possible.
Yeah, that initial high.
But then it happens. That energy just, well, it starts to fade, sometimes slowly, sometimes pretty fast.
And suddenly that project stalls or the gym visits get less frequent.
Precisely. And you're left feeling like, ugh, it's starting over again. It's frustrating. And honestly, it feels like wasted potential sometimes.
It really is a common struggle, isn't it? We tend to lean so heavily on that feeling of motivation.
We really do. That initial spark, that inspiration. We expect it to carry us.
Yeah, but it often doesn't.
And that is exactly what we are diving into today.
Yep.
We've got some really compelling excerpts here from a source called Discipline, the Bridge to Your Dreams.
Interesting title.
Right. And it makes this really bold claim almost right off the bat. It says, discipline will take you places motivation never could.
Wow. Okay, so it's setting up a direct challenge to how we usually think about getting things done.
It really is. It sort of sidelines motivation, or at least puts it in its place.
Positioning discipline as the more reliable engine, maybe.
Exactly. So our mission, really, for this deep dive is to figure out why. Why does this source call discipline your real secret weapon?
Especially for those times when inevitably that motivational spark just flickers out.
Yeah. We want to explore what discipline really is, according to this source. It's not presented as this big, loud fanfare.
No, it sounds like it's more about consistency, like the quiet thing that just keeps going.
That's the idea. The unflashy force that just shows up every single day.
Cool. I'm intrigued. And hopefully you listening will get some, practical takeaways from this.
That's the goal. Insights into how you can actually train yourself to be more consistent.
And maybe finally bridge that gap between where you want to be and, well, actually getting there.
All right, let's jump in. The source starts by acknowledging motivation, Motivation is exciting. We all get that part.
That rush. Starting a new habit, chasing a goal, even just seeing an inspiring quote online.
Totally. But then it immediately points out the problem. What happens when that initial, psychological boost starts to wear off?
Well, the source is pretty blunt about it. It says, but motivation fades. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
It calls it like a spark useful, but temporary.
That's a great analogy. A spark can start a fire, but it won't keep it burning.
Exactly. Think about it like maybe an adrenaline shot. It gets you going, like sprinting out of the blocks.
Okay, yeah.
But what about mile 5 or mile 20? That initial burst is long gone by then. That's where people hit the wall.
Right. And this source seems to say that's because we're relying on the wrong thing. Motivation is the ignition.
But it's not the fuel that keeps the engine running for the long haul.
That's such a clear distinction. So, okay, if motivation is just this fleeting spark, what is the engine? What keeps us going when we just don't feel like it?
Well, the source gives a definition that's incredibly direct.
Okay.
Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it.
Wow. Simple, but really profound when you think about it. It just cuts through all the emotion, doesn't it?
It really does. And I think that's where the difficulty lies for a lot of us, right? We're so used to waiting until we feel like it.
Waiting for inspiration to strike.
But this source flips that. It's saying action comes first, or at least action needs to happen regardless of the feeling.
So it's redefining our whole relationship with taking action.
Pretty much. Consistent action, independent of your mood. It's not flashy, it's not loud.
But it's there every day. The real secret weapon, like it says.
Exactly.
And what I found compelling is how broad this is. It's not just for, work projects.
No, the source explicitly mentions getting fit.
Right.
Building a business. Even personal growth. Mental, emotional, spiritual growth. It all comes back to discipline.
It really does seem like the underlying thread, doesn't it? The constant thing you need for any kind of real, sustained progress.
Which naturally brings up the big question. Okay, great, but how do you build it?
Yeah, because knowing what it is intellectually is one thing.
But actually cultivating it day to day is something else entirely, especially when things get tough.
Does the source give us practical steps? How do we actually train ourselves? Because it does use that word, train.
It does. It says you can train yourself to stay consistent, especially when it's boring, hard, or lonely.
Which are exactly the times motivation decides to take a vacation.
Precisely. So it's not about finding a magical feeling. It's about building a capability, like a muscle.
Okay, so how? What are the exercises for this discipline muscle?
This is where it gets really practical, actually. It doesn't just leave you with the concept. It points towards tiny systems.
Tiny systems.
Yeah.
Like what?
Things like establishing morning routines, doing goal journaling, maybe even digital detoxing.
Okay, so not huge, overwhelming changes. Small, repeatable actions.
Exactly. Things that lower the barrier to entry, reduce the friction of just getting started. It's less about psyching yourself up for a marathon.
And more about just putting your running shoes on, that first small step.
Right. It seems almost too simple, maybe. But think about how often we get paralyzed by the sheer size of a goal.
Oh, definitely. So how do these tiny systems actually build the bigger muscle of discipline? What's the connection?
This is the deeper insight, I think. These small, consistent actions feed into something internal. They build self-trust.
Self-trust. Okay, unpack that a bit.
Well, every time you set out to do one of these small things, journal for 5 minutes, put your phone away for an hour, whatever it is, and you actually do it.
You keep that promise to yourself.
Exactly. You're not just ticking a box. You're sending a signal to your brain like, hey, I can rely on me. You're strengthening that belief in your own consistency.
It's like compounding interest for your willpower.
That's a great way to put it. You prove to yourself over and over in small ways that you show up for yourself. And the source explicitly says, every time you keep a promise to yourself, you grow.
That's powerful. It's an internal feedback loop. Doing the thing reinforces your belief that you can do the thing.
Which in turn makes the next small action, and maybe even the next slightly bigger action, feel more achievable.
Yeah, you build momentum from within. The source really hammers this point home, doesn't it? It has that line.
Oh, if you're tired of starting over, stop relying on motivation.
Yes, that's the one. Build discipline.
And then the core metaphor, it's the bridge between dreams and results.
It really frames it perfectly. Motivation might make you look across the river at your dream.
But discipline is what makes you actually pick up the tools and build the bridge, stone by stone, day by day, to get there, even when it's raining, even when you're tired.
So just to kind of wrap up the main idea we got from the source today.
Yeah, let's recap.
Motivation.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's that spark, gets you going maybe, but it's temporary.
Right. Discipline, on the other hand, is fundamentally about doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it.
It's that quiet, consistent force, the one that's still there after the initial excitement is long gone.
And we saw how this applies pretty much everywhere. Getting fit, building things, personal growth, it's universal.
And crucially, it's not about some massive heroic effort all at once. It's built incrementally.
Through those tiny systems, yeah. Morning routines, journaling, managing distractions like digital detoxing.
Small things that add up. And the real magic seems to be how they build that internal sense of self-trust.
Because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you grow. You prove you're reliable to yourself.
Okay, so here's the final thought to leave you with based on everything we've discussed from this source.
Right.
If discipline really is, as the source claims, the bridge between dreams and results, then maybe the question for you is, what's one small, consistent action? Just one promise you can make to yourself starting today.
Something manageable, something you can actually commit to doing.
Exactly. Knowing that each time you follow through, you're not just doing the action, you're growing that self-trust muscle. You're laying another brick in that bridge.
So think about it. What specific dream do you want to connect to a real result? And what's the very first small brick you can lay for that bridge? Maybe even right now.